Everything's fine. Yeah, I'm having a great day. Yeah, I'm having a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hello everybody, I'm Con1 and this is my story. How I got my name. I got my name from when I was in my old band. When I was in my old band, you know, it was something that I really loved. I mean, it was like my first baby, honestly. And we were practicing all the time. We were playing shows, we lived together and all that stuff. And all of a sudden one day I get a phone call and they say, hey, guess what? You're out of the band, which really pissed me off and infuriated me to the max. And because I mean, they called me when they were together in a car on speakerphone. I thought that was pretty lame, but that's when I came up with the name, because I remember I told them, I'm like, all right, you guys kicking me out of the band, so all right, watch. You guys are gonna go nowhere and I'm going nowhere but up. So every time you guys gotta see me, whether it's TV, newspaper, magazine, internet, you'll have to say Con1. And then I just started using that name for everything else, anything for any doubters or anything like that. I mean, and you know, just got it going. And a little about my life. My mom died when I was 2, so you know, she was there and then she was gone real quick. And my dad raised me basically up until I was about 7. Yeah, until I was about 7, and then he handed me over to the devil. I mean, the house I grew up in was chaotic. I mean, it was nuts. It was lots of drugs, gangs, sex, violence, cops, all kinds of shit. Like, it was no structure at all. It was nuts. And that's how I pretty much raised myself. Because up until I moved out when I was 16, 15, 16, about, yeah. I just said it was time to go, because I mean, that house was crazy. Every type of abuse you could imagine happened in that house. I mean, it was pretty crazy. But I moved out when I was 16, and you know, I still graduated high school and did what I had to do. I almost dropped out of high school too, but my aunt told me, you know, I listened to her about a lot of things when she speaks, and one of the things she told me was, you know, continue and graduate high school, because it'll be some unforgettable memories you could never get back. So I did. I mean, I graduated with all D minuses, but I mean, it was still graduating, you know what I mean? So, and you know, I still graduated, and as I was going through life, I mean, I could never get a job. I mean, I applied to hundreds of places and never got a damn job. So I mean, even as a kid, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been creating things and getting everything up and running and trying this and trying that, and what if this works, what if that works? And you know, doing things the entrepreneur way. Started from the ground up. Since I could never get hired, I was like, I gotta create my own business, and that's what I gotta do. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but a lot of that experience I gained, and it made me who I am today. I mean, and then, you know, creating everything from a skateboard company all the way to a record label. I mean, that's where I got. I mean, the start of my entrepreneurship came from my aunt, and my uncle. I would have to say. I mean, I learned nothing from school. I learned nothing from school, but I gained a lot of knowledge from being self-taught and learning a lot of books and being out in the world and seeing things firsthand. Yeah. And all right, so my disappearance. Yeah, my disappearance was crazy. I mean, I was always up and doing things. I was working nonstop. I mean, my greatest success was through music. Once I started doing that, things started branching off little by little, and it could have been somewhere by now, but I just kamikazed myself and straight threw everything away. And I disappeared for like a good 5 years because I was lost. I mean, I met this chick and I thought that was it from there. And when once I remember too, all my friends were like, "Nah, man, that she ain't it. She ain't it. Don't date her." Pretty much, that's what they were saying. And I still did it anyway. And I went down a very, very dark, depressing, suicidal stage of my life. I mean, because I burned all my bridges down. I turned into a crazy alcoholic. And, lost all my connections and stuff like that. And, she and I weren't working out mainly because of money. But, that was a big part of my disappearance. And, after all that happened, I mean, I've been in the streets many, many times. I mean, because I've never really, once I left home, it was pretty much like, F it, I'm on my own. And I've been on my own since day one anyway, if you really think about it. Because my dad, he was doing his own thing. But, for a long time, I was in the streets just walking for days, drunk as hell. I mean, like, I would walk from Hollywood all the way to Pomona sometimes, just getting to where I needed to be. And a lot of crazy stuff happened, especially once my ex did what she did. Yeah, she cheated on me, whatever. But it was deeper than that. She threw away the entire family pretty much and was proud about it. She literally right now is a drugged out prostitute, literally. And, a lot of people didn't want to believe me at first. People probably still don't believe me. They're just so naive to what the hell's going on with her ass. But, she ended up leaving, doing what she was doing. I remember she told me straight to my face. She was like, "I'm free now. I don't want the kids, this and that," packed up all the shit and just dipped out and left and continued doing what she was doing and thought that, everything would work out. Nah. But, I, during that time, I remember I called DCFS on myself because once she was doing what she was doing, she was bringing these people around all the time. And, I knew I had to get my daughter out of there. And what I did was I called DCFS on myself because I thought it was the right thing to do, because she was trying to basically hit me with the kidnapping and Amber Alert bullshit and all that crazy stuff. So I called them and was like, "Look, this bitch is crazy. What the hell do I do?" Pretty much. And I was doing everything right. I had my daughter by myself for about 3 months. And then DCFS was like, "Hey, we got to do a drug test." I'm like, "All right, do a drug test. I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke weed." But, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll do a drug test. We'll do it right now." So I did the drug test, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, it came back positive." I'm like, "What? How's that possible?" They're like, "Oh, well, you tested positive for alcohol." I'm like, "Oh, come on, man. You said drug test." And that morning I had 2 beers. So that shit came up, and then that was enough for them to go through my record, check out all kinds of stuff. And so they gave me a time limit. They said you have 1 more hour with her, and we got to take her. And I was like, fuck, that sucks. So I was at the park with her, playing with her. And I remember we were at McDonald Park. I was pushing her on the swing, and all of a sudden, I get the call. And they said, yeah, you got an hour for us to take her. Otherwise, you will be arrested. You will be found. You'll be arrested and all that stuff. I remember I was like, damn, well, that sucks. I mean, I was really, really saddened by that. Because, I mean, we were having fun. She didn't know what was happening. And, you know, I had to do what I had to do. And then so they took her. And then from there, it was just like, I got even more angrier and more drunk and doing all kinds of crazy dumb shit. I was still in the streets. Like, I was living in bathrooms. I was living in parks. I was living in car structures. I was living at the church until they kicked me out. That's funny how that works. But I was lost. I mean, I felt like I felt like just giving up. There was nothing I could do. I mean, everybody told me it was impossible to get my daughter back. Everybody was like, yeah, this isn't going to be possible. Not many men win this case and stuff like that. But I mean, it took me a while to figure out what was going on, because the whole time I would show to court and I would still be drunk. I would be drinking in court. I had like 6 Mike's Hards in my backpack. And what I would do is I would uncap the Gatorades and pour them out and pour Mike's Hard in them, because it looked like it was a flavored drink. And then I'd tighten that cap up and take it through the metal detector, whatever. I'd be up in court all day, drunk as shit. And because, I mean, I didn't think alcohol was a problem. I mean, I really didn't. I mean, but once I figured that out, that was the main thing to take care of. And like with DCFS, you know, a lot of people hate DCFS because, I mean, DCFS comes up in your place, takes your kids, and that's it, and that's all. Like, so I understand why everybody hates DCFS, and I did too. I mean, I was in there and I was acting crazy, throwing shit, getting in fights with security guards, and doing all kinds of stuff. And that's also because my social workers sucked too. I remember all of them sucked except for one. I had one social worker at the very end that pretty much just changed everything for me, because she knew what was going on. You know, she evaluated everything and all that stuff. And I remember she told me one sentence that changed my life. I mean, it's crazy how somebody could say, when you're having a conversation with somebody, like one sentence can change everything on how they think. I mean, so words are very powerful. And I remember I was freaking out because my daughter was unfortunately at her grandparents' house on my ex's side, which I hated. Because I knew that they were sneaking my ex over after she was done getting gangbanged and doing a bunch of lines of coke and spending the night over with my daughter. I knew it was happening. I knew what was going on. And I told her over and over. I told my social worker, I said, hey, look, this is happening. And I was like, they're breaking the rules. I know that they have her over there. And she was like, well, you know, I can't go over there every single day and stop in. And I was like, man, but this. And she was like, Con, listen, they might be breaking the rules now, but you're working for it in the long run. And that sentence changed everything. I was like, wait a second. Yeah, you're right. Instead of me freaking out and panicking about that, I'm working towards the long run. I get it now. She changed everything once she said that. And I was like, from there, it was like go time. I was working on everything they wanted me to do. Parenting classes, the rehab, the detox, and all that stuff. I started taking care of everything, and I'm like, all right, yeah, she's right. I'm gonna work for it in the long run. Cause I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, working for it in the long run. Let them break the rules, and then when I get my daughter, it's fuck them till the end, cause they did everything to make sure I disappeared. They just wanted to act like I didn't exist. But I worked and I busted my ass. And I mean, I was fresh from the streets doing all this stuff. I mean, no matter where I had to go, I went, no matter how drunk I was. But the drinking pretty much stopped right when I went to the detox. Because I mean, it was bad. When I was in the streets and I didn't care. I mean, I was so delusional. I was making shit up in my head, which also brings me to like to any people that I know that I've hurt and lied to. I mean, I'm deeply sorry for who the hell that was, because that con was in a whole fucking different dimension. I mean, that person was nuts. But I checked myself in a detox, and it was crazy because I was in and out of the ER room over and over because I was nonstop throwing up chunks of blood. I was seizing out. It was crazy because all I did was drink from the second I woke up till the second I went to sleep. That's all I did. There was no such thing as a hangover because my ass just woke up and kept drinking. But like for real though, and you know, getting the detox was the first thing I had to do. And I remember I was sitting there and I was like, damn man, if I just seize out and die right now, nobody's gonna give a shit. But I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do whatever I can for my daughter right now, because I wasn't gonna give up on her. I said it many times. I said I wasn't gonna give up on her. No matter how many times I said I was getting her back, I know a lot of people did not believe me, because it looked like it was impossible for me to change, straight up. And but I did. I mean, I wasn't gonna give up on my daughter because I have no family, and I wanted to prevent her from being anywhere around my ex or her family or any of that stuff. So I did every single thing I could, and getting sober was the first one. And you know, once I did that, it was a wrap. I mean, when I said I was done drinking, at first I thought, okay, I'm gonna drink. I just gotta stay sober for 6 months. Then once I get her back, I'm gonna get back to drinking. But that shit didn't happen. The same thing that happened when I quit smoking weed, that's what happened with alcohol. Like, I quit for so long, I just didn't even care for it anymore. And that's how it is now. Now I'm like, I'm too damn busy to be fucking drinking and doing dumb shit. But you know, I never stopped. For a second there, I thought, because some people told me, like, you know, just it's gonna be impossible, man. Just let foster care, let somebody adopt her, somebody with a lot of money. And it made sense to me for a second. I'm like, nah, man, I'm gonna be the millionaire. I'm gonna get the mansion. I'm gonna get my daughter back. I'm gonna make sure she has the best life. Because that's what I stand for. I stand for coming from nothing and creating the biggest, best life you can. And so I wasn't gonna give up, and I didn't. And I remember the court date. My ex never showed up. I mean, she was even offered an Uber ride. Her ass still didn't show up. But that's how much she didn't care. But, you know, I went in and case was closed. I mean, that was probably one of my biggest accomplishments. Because I remember through DCFS, every time I went in, every time I saw my daughter, I always told her and looked her in the eyes, Daddy's working for you. I promise I'm going to get you back soon. I promise. I wasn't going to give up, and I didn't. And, you know, every time I went in there, it's like nobody existed. The second I went in and I saw her, I just zoned in right on her, and it was just her and I. Because I only got to see her for an hour a week in a glass box with a bunch of people taking notes. That shit was annoying. But, you know, my social worker really, really helped me out. Once she said that sentence, I knew. I was like, all right, cool. It made so much more sense to me. I mean, and that's kind of like how I base my motivation. I mean, coming from where I am, because I've had a hard ass fucking life. And I know a lot of people have had a hard ass life too, but it's like when people are like, oh, well, you know, everybody's had a hard life. Yeah, but I'm using it as my story. So, I mean, and I use that as my motivation as well. Like when people tell me something's impossible, I do everything I can to prove them wrong. Everything to make sure that I prove it is possible. Everything in the business world, to my daughter, to anything. And that's my biggest motivation. And, you know, now what's next, what's for the future is everything lined up. Everything Con 1. Because Con 1 I'm trying to separate from myself and it's just like its own thing. But what's next for the future? The millions. The same way people told me it was impossible to get my daughter back. Same way people tell me it's impossible to get these millions. I swear to God, getting these millions next. Everything in the music, to film, to the book I'm writing, to business in all aspects. It will be successful. But all right, guys, I'm Con 1. See you guys later.
When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? He said, will you defeat them, your demons, and all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? Because one day I'll leave you a phantom to lead you in the summer to join the black.